When you think of AJ Styles in TNA, you think of the phenomenal one, the clean-cut good guy, the face of the X Division. But back in 2013, just prior to his TNA exit, AJ had this whole lone wolf arc that saw him transform into a darker, brooding performer. This wasn't just some random heel turn. This was AJ completely flipping everything that made him the phenomenal one. Gone was the high-flying, smiling babyface who could do no wrong. Instead, we got this emo, silent, and honestly kinda scary version of the phenomenal one. Some fans think this was peak character work that set up AJ's legendary run in Japan and WWE. Others straight up hated it and said TNA ruined their golden boy. So, how good was Lone Wolf AJ Styles in TNA actually? What led to this transformation? What were the memorable matches, moments, and controversial booking decisions that eventually led to his exit from TNA? Let's find out. Our story starts in late 2012. AJ Styles had just survived the absolute worst storyline in TNA history, the Clare Lynch mess. If you don't know about Clare Lynch, just know it was so bad that it was called the worst storyline of the year by fans as well as critics. It was about a pregnant woman claiming AJ was the father of her baby while he was supposedly having an affair with Dixie Carter. That storyline didn't just hurt AJ on screen. It legit damaged his reputation and made fans question if TNA even knew what they were doing with their top guy. The phenomenal one was supposed to be this pure babyface, the heart and soul of the company. Instead, he's stuck in soap opera garbage that nobody wanted to see. Then came Final Resolution in December. AJ faced Christopher Daniels in what TNA called their final match ever. Daniels got the win over AJ, and that's when everything changed. After his loss to Daniels, AJ cut this promo that felt different. He wasn't the happy-go-lucky company man anymore. He talked about being fed up with always doing the right thing and putting everyone else first. He said he was tired of looking out for others when nobody was looking out for him. Then he just walked away and disappeared for 2 whole months. 2 months later, TNA started airing these reality TV-style segments at AJ's house. They interviewed his wife and childhood friends, and it was wild. These people were saying AJ hadn't been home, that he was drinking and doing drugs, and that he'd basically abandoned his family. When the camera crew caught up with AJ, he looked like a mess. His beard had grown out, he looked disheveled, and he was riding around on motorcycles. But here's where it gets interesting. Styles wasn't just randomly meeting with bikers. The Aces and Eights storyline was running at the same time, and fans started putting 2 and 2 together. Was AJ gonna join this biker gang that was terrorizing TNA? Was AJ gonna side with the Aces and Eights? Fans started tuning into Impact Wrestling just to see what his next move would be. When AJ finally returned to TV in March 2013, nobody recognized him. Gone was the iconic Get Ready to Fly theme. His new entrance music was slow and dark. His hair was longer. He wore all black, and his whole vibe was different. This wasn't the AJ Styles we knew. Plus, he had this new submission move called the Calf Killer that he used to tap out James Storm. During this period, AJ wouldn't talk to anyone. Not Hulk Hogan, not Kurt Angle, not the fans, nobody. He'd just stare with these dead eyes and walk away when people tried to get answers. For months, fans had no idea what was going through this man's head. It was a slow burn, but also low-key frustrating. At the same time, a war was brewing in TNA, and AJ's decision would change the future of the company. Aces and Eights were trying to take over TNA, and they knew having AJ on their side would make their win inevitable. The Aces and Eights were trying to recruit him. Hulk Hogan wanted him to lead Team TNA, and even Kazarian and Daniels were making their pitch. AJ Styles became the most wanted free agent in wrestling without saying a single word. He would show up, people would try to recruit him, he'd stay silent, then leave. Other TNA legends like James Storm and Kurt Angle tried to deal with this situation in their own ways. Storm straight up called AJ a coward to his face, saying he was too scared to turn around and confront him. When Storm got jumped by the Aces and Eights, AJ just watched from the crowd without any emotion. Kurt Angle tried a different approach. The Olympic hero had history with AJ. They'd had some legendary matches together. Angle admitted that AJ was one of the reasons he came to TNA in the first place. But when Angle asked AJ if he was with TNA or against them, AJ walked out, and even the Olympic gold medalist couldn't get through to him. The whole thing reached a boiling point when it looked like AJ was finally going to join the Aces and Eights. They had this whole initiation ceremony planned, complete with the leather vest and everything. Bully Ray was the leader at this point, and he tried to get AJ to drink alcohol as part of the ritual. But here's where AJ fooled everyone and declared himself as the Lone Wolf. AJ put on the vest, and he let everyone think he was in. But just when they turned, AJ grabbed a hammer and started destroying the entire Aces and Eights crew. The crowd went nuts because finally we got some action from the Lone Wolf. But even then, AJ didn't join the good guys. He just left everyone laying and walked out by himself. That hammer shot heard around the world proved that AJ wasn't choosing sides. He was choosing himself. This wasn't about good versus evil for AJ. This was about a man who trusted nobody and was only looking out for number one. But to truly be number one in TNA, AJ needed to get his hands back on the TNA World title. And here's where the Lone Wolf story gets legit interesting. The Bound for Glory series was perfect timing for AJ's Lone Wolf character. For those who don't know, it was basically a point-scoring tournament that ran for months, with the winner getting a shot at the TNA World Championship at the company's biggest show of the year. Different match types gave you different points, and AJ started racking them up with that calf killer submission. At the same time, AJ started cutting promos again. This man was spitting venom on the mic about how this business was cutthroat and everyone was out for themselves. He said respect doesn't pay the bills, only winning does. The crowd didn't know how to react because they'd never heard AJ talk like this before. It was dark, it was real, and it made perfect sense for someone who'd been screwed over so many times. Plus, his matches during this period were different too. The high-flying stuff was mostly gone, replaced by this more grounded, methodical style. Some fans hated it because they wanted the old AJ, but you gotta appreciate the lengths AJ was willing to go to make this Lone Wolf character stand out. Then came the moment that changed everything. The main event Mafia was about to get destroyed by the Aces and Eights in this multi-man match, and out of nowhere, AJ's music hit. He came out to his slow, dark, evil ways theme, and everyone thought he was siding with the Aces and Eights. But then, the theme switched to the iconic Get Ready to Fly, and the crowd went absolutely insane. AJ helped Team TNA in their battle against the bad guys. That should have been the moment AJ turned face again. But next week, he made it clear he didn't do it for TNA or the fans. He did it for himself. This man was still playing by his own rules. AJ won the whole Bound for Glory series tournament, but winning the tournament was just the beginning of the real drama. After winning the Bound for Glory series, AJ dropped the bomb about his contract situation. He straight up told Dixie Carter on live TV that he didn't have a TNA contract anymore. Then he started roasting her for ruining the company, saying her daddy bought her a wrestling company and she drove away all the real talent like Alex Shelley and Jay Lethal. Dixie fired back by calling AJ a big fish in a small pond and saying AJ was washed. This contract drama gave AJ all the leverage in the world going into his title match with Bully Ray. Win or lose, he was holding all the cards. Bound for Glory was where everything came together. Styles had spent months building up to this moment. The contract drama, the Lone Wolf character, the whole new attitude. Plus, Dixie Carter had put a $50,000 bounty on his head because she was so desperate to get rid of him before the title match. The match with Bully Ray was different from your typical AJ Styles classic. AJ took some nasty bumps, including crashing through a table on the outside when he missed a springboard 450. But the man was determined to prove a point. Dixie was at ringside doing her best Stephanie McMahon impression and trying to screw AJ over every chance she got. She even stopped to count when AJ should have won. But nothing was going to stop the phenomenal one that night. When he finally hit the spiral tap for the victory, it was poetic. The crowd went nuts because after everything AJ had been through, he was finally TNA World Champion again. But winning the title was just the beginning of the end. Dixie immediately tried to kiss up to AJ and offered him all sorts of materialistic garbage. Private dressing rooms, champagne, caviar, but AJ wasn't having any of it. When she brought him a new contract to sign, AJ wiped his ass with it and drove off in the car Dixie had given him. For the next few months, AJ defended the TNA championship around the world while technically not being under contract. He took the belt to Japan and Mexico, defending it for promotions like AAA and Wrestle One. TNA had to crown a new champion while everyone knew AJ was the real deal. Magnus was crowned the new TNA World Champion, and when AJ finally came back for his last match, it marked the end of the Phenomenal One's run in TNA. The match itself was a mess with dozens of interferences and typical TNA overbooked chaos, but the real headline was around AJ's TNA contract situation. AJ's final appearance in January 2014 was the end of an era in TNA, 12 years with the company, and it all came down to contract negotiations breaking down over money. Reports said TNA wanted to cut his salary by 60%, which is straight up disrespectful for your top guy. AJ walked away with his head held high and took his talents to Japan, where he became the leader of the Bullet Club. So how good was the Lone Wolf phase of AJ Styles? Well, it's complicated. First off, you gotta give AJ credit for completely reinventing himself. This man took everything that made him popular and threw it out the window to try something totally different. That takes serious guts in this business. Plus, the Calf Killer was a solid addition to his moveset. But here's the biggest win. This storyline set up everything that came next. Without the Lone Wolf character, we probably don't get the AJ Styles who dominated New Japan and eventually became WWE champion. This dark period taught him how to be a more complete performer. But this run sure had its flaws. The pacing was terrible. 5 months of AJ barely talking was way too long. The booking was inconsistent too. They'd build up the lone wolf character, then randomly have him help the good guys, then back to being selfish again. Plus, removing all the high-flying stuff that made AJ special felt like throwing away his biggest strengths. The final match with Magnus was straight trash and turned what should have been AJ's big send-off into typical TNA overbooked nonsense. TNA tried to create their own version of the Summer of Punk, but instead ended up delivering a sloppy mess. To conclude, the Lone Wolf era wasn't perfect, but it was necessary. Styles needed something to shake him out of the nice guy routine, and this storyline did exactly that. But what do you think? Was Lone Wolf AJ a masterpiece or a mess? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more vintage TNA content.